Good morning, ladies, gents, and Pikachus. Hope you slept well. Just a quick one for this morning. I have found something really interesting in my book, The Complete Dead Sea Scrolls. So there were these guys in the old antiquity time in Judea, when Israel was formed, but it wasn't yet called Israel. And these guys were called the Sons of Light. So they were considered to be kind of criminals, even though they write really well, and they seem like holy guys. But for some reason, the Jews didn't like them and were calling them criminals. Probably actually because they had prophesied the coming of Jesus as well as some other guys, and they thought, oh, this Jesus guy sounds cool. We're gonna worship him, despite the fact that he's not born yet. And it was kind of weird because even though they're worshipping Jesus, so the Jews don't like them, the Jews have convicted them as criminals, so they've left. They also prophesied the fall of Israel. And they wrote prayers, even though they're considered criminals by the Jews, so that Israel can recover and rebuild and hopefully defend itself. So it's a bit of a strange scenario, but I thought let's have a look at one of the prayers they wrote in defense of Israel, despite the fact that Israel calls them criminals, these sons of light. So let's have a look. Rise up, O hero! Lead off thy captives, O glorious one! Gather up thy spoils, O author of mighty deeds! Lay thy hand on the neck of thine enemies, and thy feet on the pile of the slain. Smite the nations, thine adversaries, and devour the flesh of the sinner with thy sword. Fill thy land with glory, and thine inheritance with blessing. Let there be a multitude of cattle in thy fields, and in thy palaces silver, gold, and precious stones aplenty. O Zion, rejoice, rejoice greatly, rejoice all of your cities of Judah. Keep your gates open forever, that the host of nations may finally be brought in. That their kings shall serve you, and their oppressors shall bow down before you. They shall lick the dust off your feet. Shout for joy, O daughters of my people. Deck yourself with the glorious jewels, and rule over the kingdom of the nations. Sovereignty shall be to the Lord, and the everlasting dominion to Israel. So what do you think? To me, that sounds like these guys wish that the Jews had a bit more sense about who their friends and enemies were. It sounds like these guys, the Sons of Light, are actually from Judea. And they like the idea of Israel being formalised as a kingdom. Remember, it hasn't been yet. It's Judea and Samaria, two separate kingdoms at the moment. So they've written this blessing to say Israel's going to be attacked, but they should smite their enemies and smash them and gather up all this gold and everything else, and then afterwards come together under the kingdomship of the glorious one, the Holy One, the Messiah, who is obviously we now know to be Jesus Christ. So it's really interesting, that, isn't it? It makes it sound like the king of Judea, who was a Jew, wasn't very well liked, even though history doesn't have much of an evidence of that. If we go through this slowly, we can say, it starts up, rise up, O heroes. So that's like saying, the king's bad, the army are good. The heroes are the armies of Judea. So even though the king's leading them, he's not very well liked, and the heroes are his people. Lead off thy captives, O glorious one. So I think that means them, the Sons of Light. They're the captives, and they've escaped. And some of their friends are still in captivity in Judea under this king they don't like. And when this big fight happens, they're going to join in. They're going to defend Judea, despite the fact that the Jews are calling them criminals. And after that happens, thy spoils, O mighty deeds, shall be gathered up. So that means they'll be pardoned by this king. Lay thy hand on the neck of thine enemies, and thy feet on the pile of the slain. Also makes it sound like there's a lot of these enemies. And the kingdom of Judea and Samaria, two kingdoms, are going to be in quite some difficulty, some peril. It doesn't say who the enemies are, but what I'm going to guess is, because of the time this happened and the location, it's the Philistines, later to be known as the Palestinians in the modern age. So the Philistines used to be cannibals and thieves and didn't have a formalised kingdom of their own. They were caravan robbers. So it seems to me like they have gathered in numbers, or they have alliances or something like that. There's a lot of them now. And they're about to attack Judea. And that's what these guys are talking about. O Zion, rejoice greatly. Rejoice all the cities of Judah. Keep your gates forever open. So what's happened is Judah have had to shut the gates because they've got a big wall. They've shut the portcullis and they've fortified the wall so that these guys who they kicked out or who escaped cannot get back in. And the supposition of this prayer is that those gates are going to be opened, or the wall is going to be broken into by the Philistines, and that's going to be the cause of this great big battle. So it sounds very, very exciting, or if you're inside the walls, probably very scary. But it doesn't end badly for them, it ends well, and we know that because it says, "Keep your gates forever open, that the host of nations may be brought in." So after this battle's won, the king is going to relent and realise that he should be praying to the Holy One rather than banishing the guys who worship him. Even though this is 222 years before the Holy One is ever going to be born. And then it finishes up by saying, "Their kings shall serve you, and all the oppressors shall bow down before you." Now, the oppressors is the Islamic people. Even though they're not formally Islamic people yet, they don't have the Quran, Allah hasn't been invented, it's Egypt. The Egyptians. That's the oppressors. And it says of them, "They shall bow down before you, they shall lick the dust off your feet." So they really don't like these Egyptian guys for some reason. And then it finishes off by saying, "Shout for joy, O daughters of my people, deck yourself with glorious jewels. Rule over the kingdom of the nations, sovereignty shall be to the Lord," i.e. Jesus, "and everlasting dominion to Israel." So even though it's prophesying a big war, a big attack by the Philistines, the Holy One Jesus is going to arrive, make sure that they come good in this battle, and in the end they rule over other nations. For instance, Egypt, for instance, the Philistines. So I don't know how much truth there is to that, but somebody back then who is good at writing prayers and poetry prophesies Jesus coming, saving Israel, kicking out the Philistines, and ruling over the nearby kingdoms. So that's going to be a controversial one, isn't it? So I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. I'll see you later on in some more videos, but until then, have a great morning. God bless you all, and I'll see you, lovely people, in the next one. Bye now. And you know what's really odd is back in the day in these old battles, although half the guys there were non-combatants, priests and scroll readers, they were the decisive ones. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. God bless, and I'll see you later in the day. Bye now. Bye bye bye.